of young women out there?
Just believe in your dreams and go as far as hard work and effort will take you.
Yes. Well, that's not going to be true for everyone, of course. For example, it will never be true for Hillary, Diane, Rodham, Clinton, because, this is it. She's at home with Bill. Bill's upstairs. Who knows what's going on up there? It's, he calls his bedroom Epstein Island. That's kind of weird. Don't you think? I think that implies a lot of stuff. But she's okay with that. They've settled into their, Speaking of which, how about a Presidential Medal of Freedom for Juanita Broaddrick? A Presidential Medal of Freedom for Paula Jones. Not sure about Monica Lewinsky. I don't think that's a different award. It's an excellent award, but it's a different award altogether. Well, happy Monday to you, and I'm back. I was away for how long was I away, Michael? I was away for 2 weeks. It was 2 weeks. Can you believe that? That's amazing. And Jasmine just gave me the evil eye because I was away for 2 weeks. Just gave me the evil eye, and I didn't go very far. I've got to say, I didn't go to South America, didn't go to Rome, stayed in Washington, D.C., and had such goings on. What happened is my best girl and I, we moved from one place to another. And perhaps I'll get into a little bit more of that later. And we didn't move very far. Let me just say that we stayed in the same zip code. In fact, we'll get into the parking spaces and stuff later, but then that is not very far. And now it's time to get back to work because, as always, there's a lot going on. And what is today? Have you checked your calendars? What is today? It is, what is it, Michael? It's Ashley Babbitt Day. It's Ashley Babbitt Day here on the Chris Plante Show. A proud United States Air Force veteran shot and killed ruthlessly, mercilessly by a racist Capitol police officer for the alleged crime of trespassing, and the Democrat Party applauded. They love police shootings. They love racist police shootings. They love them as long as it's their racist shooting an innocent white woman who served 12 years in the United States Air Force. And the Democrats love police violence and lots of other violence, too. They like to pretend in their little demented Jeffrey Epstein Island fantasy world that the only riot that we've ever seen was on January 6th, 4 years ago. And there's kind of a funny thing today about all this because it's January 6th, right? It's January 6th. It's 1/6. And the news media, they love this day. It's Pearl Harbor. It's September 11th. And then January 6th. Never mind the Democrats literally murdering dozens of people during their Black Lives Matter riots across the country from Seattle to Miami. They span the globe. Just amazing stuff. Not quite the globe, but from coast to coast. And Washington, D.C., they were rioting here and attacking the Reagan Center and attacking the White House and forcing the evacuation of the President of the United States and the first family to the nuclear bunker and injuring 160 to 180 police officers outside the White House, setting fire to the, an 1815 Church of the Presidents across the street from the White House, and the Democrats set it on fire. They love burning churches. The Democrats remember when they blew up that church, killed the little girls, and the Democrats, they love stuff like that. In fact, they've attacked, since George Floyd, St. George of fentanyl, died of cardiac failure while resisting arrest again. Since then, they've attacked more than 500 Catholic churches alone. That's just Catholic churches. The Catholics kept track. The other denominations have not kept such close track. But never mind that. It is remarkable stuff. And so today, Kamala has to go into the Senate, and she's going to show up, allegedly, she's going to show up as vice president, and she's supposed to preside over the Senate while they, confirm the count of the Electoral College. You may remember there was an incident 4 years ago on this date, and the Democrats, really, they've made a lot of hay out of it. They can turn something small into something big, and they can turn something big into something small. because they're so corrupt. They're so amazingly, and this is what information dominance is for. It's about abusing power. That's the one thing they're really good at, is abusing the hell out of power. Oh, speaking of which, abusing power, Judge Merchan, radical left-wing extremist, would fit better in the Castro regime in Cuba, for example. And he has announced that he's going to sentence President Trump on January 10th. January 10th? Is that when it's January 10th? January 10th, that's when he's doing it. 10 days before Inauguration Day, and it's the end of this week. It's Friday. I hope he does it at 5 o'clock on Friday, because you know how they love to manipulate the news cycle. And Judge Juan Merchan, he's a commie pig dog, as they say in Germany. I'm translating, Schweinhund. He's not on the side of democracy. Is he a Soros guy? Because Alvin Bragg, the prosecutor, he's a Soros guy. And speaking of that, George Soros was given the Congressional Medal of Honor for valor in combat. No, not really. He was given the Presidential Medal of Freedom. George Soros was, but Satan couldn't make it. So his little baby Satan son, Alex Soros, showed up to accept the Medal of Freedom that Joe Biden awarded a bunch of people, a couple of whom are like actors and Hollywood people and shouldn't get the medal either. But these crazy, corrupt Democrats like George Soros, accepted by Alex Soros. Who's Alex Soros? I think they're engaged. Did they get married? Humma Weiner. He's shacked up with Humma Weiner. Alex Soros is. She really scored big there, ding, 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 billions and billions, and private airliners and all that stuff, and they stole all the money by fleecing banks and doing things like that. Quite a remarkable time we're in. Joe Biden. Oh, and Joe Biden's cursing at the White House, and he is so demented. It's still, I got to say, let me be the first or the last or somewhere in the middle. It's not too late for Joe Biden to step down as president, right? And still make Kamala president of the United States for like 20 minutes. I think that'd be pretty funny. Joe Biden did say that he's going to attend the inauguration, but the thing, he's going to be a vendor. He's going to be selling ice cold Cokes and Cracker Jacks and throwing it at people, because he continues to prove that his brain, she's a no good. That brain of his, she's a broke. That one, that's not good. It's pretty, and Joe Biden did try to speak. He tried to speak yesterday even, and then the presidential medals. What is up with that? Just extraordinary. The people that he gave this to, and I've got a list of people that Trump should award the Presidential Medal of Freedom. I mentioned a couple of them. Juanita Broaddrick, attacked and raped by President Bill Clinton, a Democrat, who got off scot-free. Honestly, Ashley Babbitt posthumously getting the Presidential Medal of Freedom. She was letting her voice be heard on Capitol Hill on January 6th, mercilessly shot and killed by, what was his name, Lieutenant Byrd, the U.S. Capitol Police. And he's been rewarded and awarded and promoted, and he's a hero of the Democrat Party because of the racist killing that he perpetrated, and Democrats love nothing more than racist killings. You know how they are. They're the left. They're not liberals. So we've got a lot of stuff going on today because, well, first of all, I've been away for 2 weeks, and it's been an action-packed week, and it's January 6th coming back. Did I plan it that way? Huh? What am I doing after the show? Going down to the Capitol, maybe? Because a lot of stuff going on down there. But just some of the stories we have for you today. Biden calls on Americans to not forget January 6th attack. That's what he wants. I want you to not forget that Joe Biden is very severely mentally disabled, and he's been president for 4 years, and all the Democrats, and that means the media too, engaged in an open conspiracy to mislead, lie to the American people. And they succeeded. They succeeded because that's what information dominance is about. We should never forget that. I can never forget May 31st of 2020, when a mob of hundreds of thousands, no, millions of Democrats, really it was just thousands of Democrats, attacked the White House, set fire to the Church of the Presidents, one of the most historic churches in the United States of America. They set it on fire. The media said, oh, It's mostly peaceful. That was a mostly peaceful one. The Democrats injured 160 to 180 police officers. They forced the evacuation of the president and the first family to the nuclear bunker. And then the next day, President Trump walked across the street to the church and stood in front of the church with a Bible to draw attention to the fact that the Democrats had torched the church of the presidents across from the White House. The news media and late-night TV made a joke of it. Right? Oh, look, Trump was evacuated. He hid in the bunker. He was hiding in the bunker, late-night TV. They're not very funny, but they're radical left-wing pigs. So they got that going for him. And that puts him in good with the Democrat Party. Remarkable stuff. And then they attacked him. Oh, he's holding the Bible. And the fire had been put out in the church of the presidents, but never mind that. Biden warns Americans about risk of repeating riots similar to January 6, 2021. But go ahead and repeat the riots of May 31st, 2020, because the Democrats had normalized rioting from Seattle to Miami to Atlanta to Kenosha to Minneapolis and Washington and New York and Chicago, and literally dozens murdered, dozens of human beings. They're not like Haitians, eating dogs and cats in Ohio, anything like that. So we got that, and amazing stuff. And the video, I've got the audio for you today of Ashley Babbitt being shot and killed on January 6th. Remember, Joe Biden said that, what did he say, 5 police officers were killed that day. And then as president, he said another time, I think 6 police officers were killed that day. No police officers were killed that day. Only Ashley Babbitt was killed that day. But never mind that. There were other people beaten and who's that nice lady that had the hell beat out of her by we'll get all that stuff, but never mind that. No accountability, except everybody, they're still arresting grandmothers that prayed outside the Capitol, throwing them in gulags. They had to build a gulag archipelago for their political enemies, the Democrat Party. Yeah, and I pulled the headline. Trump took shelter in White House bunker as protests raged. Now, the Secret Service evacuated the President of the United States because the Democrat mob was sacking the city of Washington like the Mongol horde that they are. Amazing stuff. And I mentioned Judge Merchan, Juan Merchan, Democrat Party activist abusing the power that he has. Trump slams Merchan, Democrats who, quote, just want to see if they can get a pound of flesh, end quote, amid failed cases. Now, honestly, they're planning on sentencing this radical left-wing political activist, not a judge at all. He should be disbarred, probably jailed for a day. Should go to jail for a day. Like, what was the name? Mike Nifong. Mike Nifong, remember the Democrat prosecutor tried to jail the Duke lacrosse team over something that never happened, and he was disbarred. He's a Democrat, another pig, and he was disbarred, and he was thrown in jail for 1 day. He did 1 day in jail, which he deserved. I think maybe Judge Merchan should end up there, too. And that Soros prosecutor, Alvin Bragg, I got to tell you, there is a new day coming. Remarkable stuff. Also, we're looking forward to the confirmation hearings for President Trump's cabinet, and there's a lot going on there as well. So I look forward to Kamala. The whole thing happens in the Senate after we wrap up the radio show today. But Kamala is supposed to be there. She's going to show up surrounded by a phalanx of armed men. But it turns out it's not her security detail. It's an escort forcing her to go to the Senate to approve the election of Donald Trump as president of the United States. Not since Al Gore had to go to the Senate to affirm the election of George W. Bush has a sitting vice president, having lost the election to the incoming president, had to go to So we got that. And these medals that Joe Biden gave out, what an embarrassment to the United States of America. Justin Trudeau in Canada, the blackface guy, he may resign, and the Liberals are losing power in Canada. I'm not sure how this will affect their chances at statehood. We'll see. Joe Biden says no more drilling offshore because he wants to try to hobble the Trump administration, incoming Trump administration, try to corrupt that by abusing the power that he has. He's going to give 2 speeches, they say, at the White House before he leaves on January 20th, assuming he leaves peacefully. Will he? He's going to give 2 speeches, but no press conference because he's really like a Soviet. Also, you see the Democrat running around New York City stabbing people in the subways. And this Democrat, he's got 87 prior arrests. And he's stabbing people in the subway, multiple people with a giant knife. The Democrats want to run him for office, maybe city council, maybe the state house before the U.S. Congress. Democrats. He's 87 arrests, but a faithful Democrat Party voter. We're, of course, at 888-630-9625. Chris here with a list of things that none of us should trust. The Washington Post, the New York Times, anything on CNN. Here's a list of things that I do trust. The Washington Times. Support real journalism for just $1 a week at washingtontimes.com/Chris. Okay, let's see. What else do we have? We had a radical Islamic jihadi terror attack in New Orleans, a massacre, and had that FBI lady with a nose ring. The on-again, off-again nose ring, you see her? This is not a terrorist attack. It's just the car attack and shooting the police and the IEDs, but not a terrorist attack. The FBI showing up again. Aren't they amazing? Just amazing. And an attack at the Trump Hotel in a Tesla car, and they're telling us, oh, no, he's a Trump guy. Yeah, because everything they say is a lie. Speaking of which, Adam Schiff is back in Washington. He's in the Senate now because California needs to be sawed off of the continent and given to Nicaragua or something. They're completely out of their minds. But he's attacking Kash Patel, Adam Schiff is, because Schiff is a racist. What other possible explanation could there be? Let's go to the telephones, Michael. Let's go to Stephen, calling from beautiful Daytona Beach, Florida. Stephen, you're on the Chris Plante Show.
Stephen. Chris, good morning.
Hey, good morning to you.
Beautiful 70 degrees.
Nice.
Beautiful 70 degrees right now down here. The reason why I'm calling is I was listening to NBC4 out of Chicago, and Let's Go Brandon Johnson had a press briefing, and the press was asking him all sorts of questions about missing $500 million in about a year and a half, and all the corruption for the illegal alien housing, and the cities all broke, and most of the country where the sanctuary cities were held, they frauded the government, the cities, and the state was billed for all these fees. There was one condo owner that received $150,000 a month just to house the illegal aliens, and then he received rent for each and every one of them on top of that.
Wow.
And
well, Chicago, it's the Democrat Party, and they live to steal and fleece and lie and to corrupt everything. Honestly, with Joe Biden and these presidential medals of freedom, I did start going back and forth with my friend Brian Doherty about who to give the Presidential Medal of Freedom to when Trump is in the White House. And I think it would be a very different group of people, that's for sure. And there's this crazy story because the FBI is really kind of an embarrassment. And I was trying to not be too engaged during my days off, 2 weeks worth, 10 days off. Kind of a big deal. First time in 2 years, really, that I had time off like this. And remarkable things going on all over the place. And I try to not plague and Michael Piercy and my best girl, too, for that matter, with constantly flogging the news when I got a couple of days off. But I did have to send a couple of things back, like the FBI lady, the deputy or assistant special agent in charge of the New Orleans office when the radical Islamic jihadi terrorist massacre took place there on New Year's Day. And, remarkable stuff. Very early in the morning, of course, and late at night, New Year's Eve. And and the FBI lady came out, and she's a DEI hire and African-American lady, and she had a ring in her nose, Got supposed to have rings on your fingers and bells on your toes, but not a ring in your nose. She had a ring in her nose, and she came out and gave a press conference where she announced that this is not a terrorist attack. You have that, lady? Because where's that soundbite? Because I did text about that when I saw that. And Mike Opelka was in for me, the wonderful Mike Opelka, and thanks to Mike Opelka for doing overtime duty. I think for all this time off that I so generously afforded myself, and it took some negotiating, but never mind that. And Mike Opelka, he noticed later in the day, right? It was Mike, right? That noticed that her nose ring was gone. She came out. In the morning, she gave a press briefing where she said, just because a guy drove his vehicle, as we've seen so many times in France and New York and in England, running people over, radical Islamic jihadi, murdering people wholesale, and the guy started shooting, and he shot 2 police officers, and then it turns out they were IEDs. But pay no attention, she said, because the assistant special agent in charge of New Orleans, whose name is Althea Duncan, and she assured us this is definitely not terrorism, whatever you think.
This is not a terrorist event. What it is right now is their improvised explosive devices that was found, and we are working on confirming if it's a viable device or not. As Chief Kirkpatrick said, we're asking everyone to stay away from Bourbon Street.
How many? And she said there were devices, and plural. And then she says that was found, singular, and she had a couple of different singular, plural disagreements in that soundbite that we just played. There were multiple devices that was found, and we have to find out if it was viable. And it's definitely not a terrorist attack. And it was, first of all, way too early to be making declarations like that. But Althea Duncan was really an embarrassment to the FBI. And then, she kind of disappeared. First her nose ring, then the rest of her just disappeared. Kind of amazing stuff.
What it is right now is their improvised explosive devices that was found.
Yeah, and then there was more, and we're going to see if it was.
And we are working on confirming if it's a viable device.
If it's a viable device. So were there multiple, plural devices or a singular device, and somebody called and said, hey, lose the nose ring. And then she came back out later with no nose ring. How are you going to lead her around if she doesn't have a nose ring? Isn't that amazing? Just amazing stuff. Amazing. And with this, I tell you, I've got to share it because great news friend of mine, Jeff, we were texting back and forth this morning. And the FBI, once again, the FBI, and this is kind of a big deal because January 5th of, the famous January 6th, the day before that was the famous January 5th. And there was a guy, a Democrat, who planted 2 pipe bombs in Washington, D.C., one at the headquarters of the Democratic National Committee. We like to call that DNCHQ, because everything has to be code. And then the Republican National Committee headquarters, RNCHQ, ipso facto. And we learned, like night before last, FBI releases new video in hunt for January 6th pipe bomb suspect. I'm sorry, how many years later is this? You buffoons are so fired. You have any idea how fired you are? You are all fired. Speaking of which, that's Adam Schiffless, the biggest liar in Washington, and he got a promotion because Democrats in California took him from where the House of Representatives, where he was the biggest liar in the House of Representatives, the most corrupt member of the House of Representatives, which is like being the fastest car in Indianapolis on the week of the Indy 500. Biggest liar in Washington, California. They gave him a promotion to the upper chamber, the Senate. Now he's in the Senate, and he's saying he's going to corrupt the process of confirming President Trump's nominees for various positions, including Kash Patel, to become the director of the FBI. because these guys are just shockingly corrupt people. They're third world people. Adam Schiff should be living in a tree. And the FBI is something out of the Soviet Union. It's a tragic thing to have to say. Oh, here we are. It's, hey, tomorrow's January 6th. Let's release a new video from 4 years ago. How's it new video from 4 years ago? Didn't you guys have this video 4 years ago? And you still haven't found anybody? And we knew the day we saw the initial pictures and video, the guy's sitting there on a bench with his cell phone in his hand making cell phone calls, which means that they've got the time, the locator on the cell phone. They knew who the guy was day 2. Either that or they're all fired, and they should have all been fired then. But the new video, man, oh man, I'm telling you that FBI releases literally like 48 hours ago. FBI releases a new video in hunt for January 6th pipe bomb suspect. You're an embarrassment to law enforcement agencies. You make Barney Fife look like Melvin Purvis. It's an old FBI reference there, old school FBI. The FBI has released new surveillance footage in a bid to gather more information 4 years late in its 4-year hunt. Not a very good hunt, you know. You could find like a pygmy black rhino just doing it on foot with no technology in less than 4 years. So they released new video, more information in its 4-year hunt for a suspect who placed pipe bombs near the Democratic National Committee and Republican National Committee headquarters on the night before January 6, 2021, when the riot on the U.S. Capitol took place. I honestly, I'd like to direct your attention to the May 31st, 2020 riot at the White House that forced the evacuation of the president and first family to the nuclear bunker. That the riot that injured 160 to 180 police officers, where they torched the church of the presidents, where they brought M80s by the bagful. An M80 is an eighth of a stick of dynamite, big firecracker. A lot of, if you had a lively teenage like I did, you might know what M80s are. And they're throwing M80s at the police. We were not throwing them at the police when I was a teenager. But Democrats do that all the time. They brought lots of frozen water bottles and bottles of their own urine, and because they like to play with human waste, there. So the pipe bombs were safely deactivated and did not explode, despite an extensive investigation and a $500,000 reward. The suspect remains unidentified. Yeah, maybe we should create a law enforcement agency that would look into incidents like this. Authorities hope the new video will jog memories and lead to new information. The new video won't. All right, I'm here to tell you right now. There is no memory that needs to be jogged because the Democrat pals of this Democrat terrorist know who he is. And let me tell you what, if the FBI doesn't know who he is, then we should put Barney Fife on the job because you guys are all fired. And the people at USA Today, it's making news all over the world. The British are reporting on it. The Bangaloris, the Indians, they're, hey, look at the new video, the pipe bomb. But USA Today has it too. FBI seeks new leads on suspect who placed pipe bombs outside DNC RNC buildings in 2021. Yeah, you guys should look into, who shot John F. Kennedy too, maybe. And the CIA should probably release the documents. What do you think? Everybody's dead. You can release the documents. Please. So the FBI announcement was made within hours of a report from congressional Republicans condemning investigators for having yet to make an arrest in the planned attack. So it's congressional Republicans pressuring the FBI, and they're like, oh, maybe we should release this video that we've been sitting on for 4 years because we're actively engaged in a cover-up for some inexplicable reason, which may be explicable if Kash Patel becomes the FBI director and we find out where and when the FBI was corrupted and by whom. So USA Today, the FBI has released new information about an unknown suspect who planted 2 pipe bombs nearly 4 years ago near the headquarters of the Republican and Democratic National Committee headquarters in Washington, D.C. The devices were discovered and disarmed on the eve of the January 6th Capitol assault in 2021. Yeah, what happened on the eve of the 2020 White House assault? Oh, you guys were burning churches and attacking the Reagan building, but never mind that. And throwing big explosives. An M80 will blow your hand off if you clutch it in your fist and, put the little green waterproof fuse out between your 2 middle fingers. If you light it there with a Zippo lighter, it'll blow your hand off to a stump. And the Democrats were throwing those. Were there any M80s at January 6th thrown at the police, Michael? No, there weren't. There weren't. There was a broken window. But the Democrats are fine with broad. They love crime. Oh, speaking of which, speaking of them loving crime, in New York City, they have now arrested a man who, with 87 prior arrests, stabbed 2 people on the New York City subway system. Stabbed 2 people with a big, giant knife. And now he's been arrested because they said, maybe this should be frowned upon. New York's starting to get a reputation. So they arrested the guy. Isn't that amazing? And it turns out that the guy, here's the headline from the New York Post. The Washington Post doesn't cover it because it makes Democrats look bad. Oh, there's a funny story out of the Washington Post, too. Their Pulitzer Prize-winning political cartoonist lady, resigned in disgust. And I'll get to that story today, too. But here's the New York Post. Madman accused of 2 NYC train stabbings. Hey, come to New York. The crime rate is up and the subway is down. New York, New York. It's a town that is hell. So madman, New York Post, accused of 2 New York City train stabbings is busted in another station carrying large knife, : they love their colons. Sources. Should never have one word after the colon. That's a rule that I have, a journalistic rule. And his name is Jamar Banks. Jamar, isn't that like an Islamic name? What's the name of the guy in New Orleans that ran everybody over? Because he had one of those names too. So a subway maniac with 87 prior arrests was just busted for 2 transit stabbings, carrying a large knife he allegedly used in the violence, police and sources said on Sunday. Jamar Banks, a 52-year-old with a long rap sheet and a history of mental illness, so a Democrat, because that sums up your average run-of-the-mill Democrat in New York City at this point, was nabbed by the NYPD warrant squad. They have a warrant squad. Around midnight, the 219th Street station in the Bronx. And he was brought to the NYPD Transit Bureau District 2 in Manhattan. He was carrying what had been described by police as a large knife, which he allegedly used last week to attack and stab 2 people in the New York City subways. And it is a big knife. It's in a big old hand. It's like a 10-inch blade. And there are pictures and videos of him flashing it. Good thing the FBI didn't get a hold of it because they'd sit on it for 4 years. And the guy would go around stabbing people. Amazing stuff. Banks was last busted in November, twice for petty theft, and, of course, immediately released with summonses to later appear in court, which he undoubtedly had no intention of doing. And New York, New York, honestly, it's a town that is hell. The crime rate is up and the economy's down. Amazing stuff. All right, we're at 888. Sorry, I'm getting back into the swing. A lot of stuff has stacked up over LaGuardia here. 888-630-9625.
Qualifications.
Rape, murder, arson, and rape.
You said rape twice.
I like rape.
You do. Charming.
All right, a lot going on A lot of things moving. Got a little James Carville for you. He's not well. Not well. He's a Democrat. Resignation at the Washington Post, leaving in disgust. Remarkable stuff. Let's go to the telephones, Michael. Let's go to Rob, calling from Montgomery County, Maryland. Oh, Robert, you're on the Chris Plante Show.
Good morning, Chris. We've missed you. Although Mr. Pelko did a wonderful job. Thank you for taking my call.
You bet.
I was going to allude to an interesting Star Trek episode, but I think I changed my mind. I wanted to mention, how is it that the lady that murdered, the young lady that wanted to be a guy, that murdered all those students and the faculty down in Tennessee, and the guy that tried to kill Mr. Trump, he was cremated immediately. Okay? And then nothing has ever come out about the story about that young lady down there. What's happened out here? It's just like, if this isn't suppression from the top, I don't know, what would you call it? I mean, it's insane.
Well, let's not forget the massacre in Las Vegas from the hotel at the country music. I think it was a Jason Aldean concert, and more than 50 people murdered by a madman with a rifle. And it took forever for the FBI to say, oh, yeah, and it's like everybody, it might as well have been a Trump rally, a Jason Aldean concert in outside open air in Las Vegas, Nevada, and one of the biggest massacres in the history of the United States of America. And the FBI said, oh, he had some kind of an issue with the hotels in Las Vegas or something, and it didn't make any sense. And you're right. Where 4 years later, here's some video of the pipe bomber, only because Republicans and not Democrats in Congress pressured the FBI to do something about pipe bomb, DNC headquarters, RNC headquarters. Our FBI, growing up, the FBI was this exalted institution that you couldn't even question. It was the stuff of Jimmy Stewart and Melvin Purvis and a Quinn Martin production and all that good stuff. And now what word would you use? Keep it clean, Rob, to describe the FBI at this point.
Exactly.
Can't think of one while keeping it clean. Yeah, isn't it amazing? It's a terrible thing. And now the FBI, hey, remember that pipe bomb thing 4 years ago? It was 4 years ago yesterday. Oh, here's video. Yeah, we've been sitting on it.